hijacked a long-distance train in a rugged and mountainous area south of Quetta. They took passengers hostage. So far, 190 of them out of the 400 that were on board that particular train are out of this Baloch rebel army's clutches. While the BLA says that they have released them as a sign or a gesture of humanity, the Pakistani army says that it was the military operation that ensured safety for these passengers. The operation also resulted in the death of 30 Baloch rebels as per the Pakistan administration. As per the Baloch rebels, several of Pakistani army personnel have been killed. So the number and the narrative changes based on who you're speaking with. But one thing that no one will deny is that this perhaps is the most audacious attacks in recent years. The group has splintered over time. Its leadership has largely operated from exile, and yet the Baloch Liberation Army has managed to mobilize not just support on ground, but also get men and women on board who are ready to give up their life for this cause. The BLA traces its ideological roots to decades-long Baloch nationalist movement, which seeks greater autonomy for that particular region. They do not want to be part of Pakistan. They want to be an independent nation. They feel betrayed by their founding fathers, oppressed by the state for all these decades since 1947, and now they feel exploited specifically by China with all of its infrastructure projects that are coming up in the Balochistan region. The frustration of the Baloch people has boiled over, and how? As several continue to remain in Baloch Liberation Army's captivity, the Pakistani army has now launched an operation and is trying to make some sort of progress. In a video that was released by Balochistan Post that we have accessed for you, that you see on your screens, there are visuals of the very tunnel where these hostages were being held captive. This tunnel is where these Baloch rebels held the train. Meanwhile, Pakistani army helicopters can be seen hovering over. Now, the Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif condemned what he called was a cowardly attack. He also said that they will continue their fight against this monster of terrorism. But at the moment, it looks like they do not have the upper hand because, like I said, 28 hours later, there are still many hostages in the Liberation Army's captivity. But now this is not the first time that we've seen such attacks. The Baloch Liberation Army has been involved in several in the past. Specifically as far as the Gwadar port is concerned and China's involvement there, that's something that has irked the local tribes there, the local people there, and given ammunition to the Liberation Army. The BLA has targeted infrastructure and personnel that have been associated with the CPEC projects. In August 2024, the BLA claimed responsibility for a series of coordinated attacks across the region of Balochistan. They've been targeting Chinese nationals as well. It's not just infrastructure or the CPEC project, but also Chinese officials, Chinese laborers who are in Pakistan working on these CPEC projects have been targeted by the BLA. Now, like I said, this Baloch dispute in Pakistan is a long-standing one. There's a complex history to it as well. It dates back to the region's forced integration into Pakistan in 1948. The Khanat of Kalat initially declared independence but was pressured to accede to Pakistan by the founding fathers like Muhammad Ali Jinnah back then. This led to the first wave of armed resistance. There were subsequent insurgencies that occurred in different decades. In 1958, from 1963 to 69, then again in 73 to 77. Each of these periods was marked by escalating violence. There was growing unrest from different Baloch tribes. The current insurgency, which began in 2003, is fueled by grievances over resource exploitation and marginalization of Baloch people. It comes at a time when there are several major Chinese projects like the CPEC that are coming up. The Baloch people believe that China and Pakistan, a country that they believe oppresses them, is looting their resources, not leaving any to the locals there. They are unhappy specifically with the CPEC project. There are several reasons for it. They feel, like I said, that the natural resources of that particular region, which are meant for the locals, are being exploited by China and Pakistan without benefiting the local population at all. The influx of workers from other parts of Pakistan outside of the Balochistan region and from China make the Baloch tribes and the people minority in their own region. That's something that is problematic for them as well. These projects are also seen as consolidation of federal control over Balochistan. The federal government of Pakistan is something that the Baloch people, specifically the Baloch Liberation Army, have rejected outrightly. They undermine our local autonomy, is what the Liberation Army and the Baloch tribes have been insisting on for decades together. Now that is the history, but did Pakistan, the Pakistani army, the government not see this coming? Were they not prepared? And is Pakistan reaping what it sowed? That's the question we ask on Plain Speak.
15-20 मिनट बाद, आधे घंटे के बाद ये बस एक हादसा हुआ हमारे साथ।
सर हम लोग को छोड़ दिया, फिर बोला आप लोग जाएं भाई, अपना रास्ता पकड़े, निकलते जाए, आप लोग के साथ दुश्मनी नहीं है।
जो युद्ध चल रहा है वहाँ पर है, अभी पाकिस्तान आर्मी भी खुद यूज़ कर रहा है, उनकी ड्रोन भी यूज़ कर रहे हैं, टैंक भी यूज़ कर रहे हैं, अटैक हो रहा है, चल रहा रहेगा।
6 to 7 districts of Balochistan have total control of terrorists. There is no control of the Pakistan government or the Pakistan army.
मेरे ख्याल में ये कभी भी जब आप आँख से खेलते हैं ना, आपके हाथ जलते हैं कभी ना कभी।
Let's open this up. Veena Sikri, former diplomat here in India, joins us. Faraz Saeed, senior journalist from Pakistan, is with us, and senior journalist at Balochistan Post, Bahut Baloch, is with us as well. Let me begin by asking you, Mr. Baloch, what is it that the Baloch Liberation Army is expecting to get out of this audacious attack that we've seen? It's been over 28 hours. There are still many hostages that they have with them.
मेरी आवाज आ रही?
जी सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है। 28 घंटे हो चुके हैं, अभी भी काफी सारे लोग बलोच लिबरेशन आर्मी के गिरफ्त में हैं। क्या चाह रही है बलोच लिबरेशन आर्मी? क्या लगता है उनको हासिल होगा इस अटैक के बाद?
देखिए, बिल्कुल 24 घंटे गुजर चुके हैं और 200 से ज्यादा जो ऑस्ट्रेजेस है बीएलए की तहवील में हैं, जिनमें से अक्सरियत फौजी एहलकार है और जिनमें मेजर रैंक के भी ऑफिसर्स है, कैप्टन रैंक के भी ऑफिसर्स है। ये सब जा रहे थे, छुट्टियां गुजार कर जा रहे थे पंजाब की जानिब, रावलपिंडी, इस्लामाबाद इस जानिब जा रहे थे। सिचुएशन ये है कि बीएलए की जानिब से ताज़ा तरीन अभी एक बयान आया है जिनका कहना है कि पाकिस्तान ऑस्ट्रेजेस के हवाले से सीरियस नहीं है। वो भरपूर फौजी ताकत का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं जिसके बायस वो खतरे में डाल रहे हैं इनकी जानों को। और उन्होंने वाज़ेह किया कि हम तो इंसानी हकूक़ की जो आलमी कवानीन है उस हवाले से हमने एक पेशकश की थी कि ऑस्ट्रेजेस के हवाले से जो कैदियों का तबादला है उसके लिए राजी है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान आर्मी की जानिब से मुसलसल फौजी ऑपरेशन, वहाँ पर गनशिप, हेलीकॉप्टर, जेट तैयारी या के जो ड्रोन तैयारे हैं वो डिप्लॉय किए गए हैं, जिसके बायस मजीद सिर्फ 24 घंटे बचते हैं। तो अगर उस पर अमल दरामद नहीं होता है तो फिर हम एग्जीक्यूट करना शुरू करेंगे। और उन्होंने कहा कि फिर ये पूरा एक प्रोसेस है हमारा जो बलोच कौमी अदालत के तहत जो मिलिटेंट्स अपने उनकी एक है तरीक़ाकार, उस हवाले से उन पे केसेस चलाए जाएंगे और उनको एग्जीक्यूट किया जाएगा।
बट ये जो 48 आवर का अल्टीमेटम दिया गया है, जैसे आप भी बता रहे हैं कि अब 24 घंटे और बचे हैं, पाकिस्तानी आर्मी या पाकिस्तानी सरकार लग नहीं रहा कि पीछे हटेंगे, तो ये जो हॉस्टेजेस बचे हुए हैं, जो पैसेंजर्स थे उस ट्रेन पर, क्या उनकी जान को दावे पे रखना, इज दैट राइट? दैट्स ऑल्सो अ क्वेश्चन दैट मेनी आर आस्किंग। इज दैट समथिंग दैट द बीएलए हैज आंसर्ड?
बिल्कुल, देखिए इस हवाले से यही डिस्कशंस चल रहे हैं। एज जर्नलिस्ट हम भी यही कह रहे हैं कि एक बेहतरीन ऑप्शन नहीं है कि आपके ऑस्ट्रेजेस उनके हाथ में है, आपके बंदे उनके हाथ में है, आप ऑपरेशन करें, आप डायलॉग की तरफ जाएंगे। उन्होंने तो वाज़ेह तौर पर कहा है कि हम डायलॉग चाहते हैं कि जो कैदियों का तबादला है इस हवाले से, लेकिन पाकिस्तान स्टेट की जानिब से कोई पेशरफ नहीं है कि अभी तक कोई इजलास, कोई बात अभी तक उन्होंने नहीं की है। वो सिर्फ इसी पे चीज़ों को प्रोपेगेट करना, मीडिया में थोड़ा बड़ा चढ़ा के या कि जो मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, इस तरह की चीज़ें, एज मैं ग्राउंड से ताल्लुक़ रखता हूँ, मुझे मालूम है कि क्या हो रहा है। तो बहुत सी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, इस तरह की चीज़ों में अपने लोगों को इंगेज कर रहे हैं। और पीएलए की स्टेटमेंट में भी यही है कि वो सिर्फ इंगेज करना चाहते हैं कि ऑपरेशन हो रही है, ये वगैरह इस तरह की चीजें। बहरहाल बीएलए की जानिब से एक उनके लिए अच्छा मौका है अगर वो डायलॉग करना चाहते हैं। लेकिन पाकिस्तान की माजी के अगर हम जाए तो माजी में भी इस तरह के एक दो वाकयात हुए थे। कर्नल लई को ले जाया गया था बीएलए की जानिब से, उस वक्त भी इन्होंने बड़े पैमाने की एक ऑपरेशन की थी जिसके बायस वो मारा गया। उसमें भी एक हो सकती थी कि कैदियों का तबादला हो सके इस बार भी। लेकिन यहाँ पर एक बात वाज़ेह है कि 200 के करीब 200 से जायद लोग यरगमाल है, जिनमें से फौजी एहलकार और दीगर है। लेकिन स्टेट की जानिब से कोई सीरियस पेशरफ देखने में नहीं आई है।
जी जी बिल्कुल फराज Saeed, but let me ask you this. Like I said at the beginning of the show, the narrative seems to change depending on who you're asking. The Pakistani army feels that they have the advantage over this, that they have the operation under control and that several of these insurgents have been killed. The BLA says that's not true and the story is the other way around. There may be a lot of misinformation. We're not going to know until the situation is diffused completely. But what do you think explains that 28 hours later, the Pakistani army and the administration has not been able to get things under control?
Poonam, we have to make one thing absolutely clear. It is the state versus terror outfit. It is not two states fighting against each other. It is the state fighting against the terror outfit who have held about 400 people hostage. 190 have been released. 200 are still under their custody. So it is the state fighting against the terror outfit. So claiming that somehow BLA wants to negotiate, BLA has the upper ground, BLA has its own laws, it is absolutely absurd to even talk about it, that there is some kind of laws that a terrorist outfit would establish, and they would somehow use their own particular laws to negotiate with the army of a state. So we have to make this one thing absolutely clear. Baloch Liberation Army is a terrorist outfit. It attacked the national railway which was going from Balochistan, from Quetta to Peshawar. It is a terrorist organization. It carried out a terrorist operation, and it will be dealt with the force, one way or the other. Of course, the Pakistan military is trying its best to navigate in a very cautious manner, because again 200 civilians are still unaccounted for, and they have to make sure that each and every civilian of Pakistan will be secured. However, there is not going to be any kind of negotiation with the terrorist organization which attacks Pakistan, Pakistani citizens, or Pakistan installation. That has to be absolutely clear. No representative of any terrorist organization is in any capacity to dictate rules to the Pakistani state. We have to make this absolutely clear. And these laws, these norms, and these precedences are clear for every nation state. This is not out of the blue, which I am talking about, or which the Pakistani state would talk about. These narratives, these precedences are clear for every nation state. Terrorist, no nation state can negotiate with them. And specifically when they have held 180 civilians hostage at a time. I mean, it's absolutely absurd to even hear about terrorist organizations' claims, or even whatever they want to say.
Sure. So no negotiations. That's the path the government wants to take. But militarily, it doesn't look like they have the upper hand, because like I said, 28 hours on, there are still over 100 hostages in the Liberation Army's custody. But Veena Sikri, how do you read this entire situation? Is this something that does put the Pakistani government, the administration, in a spot, in the sense that they didn't see this coming? The BLA has been ratcheting up their attacks over the last few years. We would say perhaps this is the most audacious attack we've seen in the recent past, to take so many innocent civilians, to take so many Pakistani army personnel hostage. And the Pakistani army or the government didn't see it coming.
Yeah, it is a very serious situation, and as you have pointed out, it's not a new situation. The position of the Balochistan, the BLA, the Balochistan Liberation Army, had been clear for many decades, and I can say that this situation has been brewing since 1948 practically. So I think the first thing is that the people of Balochistan, they seem to feel that they do not have control over their own resources, and that the benefits of whatever development is taking place is not coming to the people of Balochistan. I think this is a point that they have been making again and again and again. So I think this is an issue that is in the first place, this is the issue for negotiation between the central government of Pakistan and the people of Balochistan, as represented either by the people in the assembly or by the various organizations. Now, it is true that the action that has been taken by the Balochistan Liberation Army has also affected citizens of China, and they also have been affected because this Gwadar port development that is taking place. The people of Balochistan do not find employment there, and you have people coming from Punjab, Sindh, and even from China to work there, and there is absolutely no role or any situation for the people of that area. So I think this is a question which has to be negotiated with the people of Balochistan, and their regrets, their concerns is something that the state of Pakistan has to take on board and find a solution that meets the interests and the needs of the people of Balochistan for development of their own area, because after all, every person, every people, they want to share in the growth of the country, to share in the growth of the various whatever is happening in that part of in Balochistan and in the rest of Pakistan. So I think this is a very important point, and discussion, dialogue, this is the way forward. Of course, it has to be. Now, of course, the question about this very large and serious attack on the train crisis, the hostage crisis, I think it seems to involve a large number of Pakistan Army officers as well. And this is perhaps for the first time that you're seeing that such a large number of Pakistan Army officers, apart from soldiers, are involved in this. So this is, of course, a matter of great concern. It is perhaps the most serious attack of its kind to have taken place in many years in the area.
Right.
And I do hope that the concerns of the BLA and the people of Balochistan will be taken on board and will be looked at by the people of Pakistan, by the state of Pakistan, and that a peaceful resolution will come to this. Because I think that attacking state property and so on is terrible. The loss of life is terrible, and this is a very difficult situation for any country to face. But we have to also take on board that the repeated ignoring of the concerns of the people of Balochistan, their continuing poverty, their lack of participation in the development process, their lack of benefit from the tremendous resources of this very, very large and very, very well endowed state of Pakistan.
And like you said, this has been brewing for decades together, since 1948, yes, since they felt betrayed by the founding fathers like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, back then when independence was granted to Pakistan. But Faraz Saeed, you said that we don't negotiate with terrorists, so we will not talk with the Baloch Liberation Army. That's the stance of the state government. That's the stance of the state there, the government of Pakistan. But should dialogue have happened, should negotiations have happened for all these years, then maybe the situation wouldn't have arisen in the first place.
I mean, there have been multiple dialogues, series of dialogues over decades and decades. I've been regurgitating the fact that despite the fact that we've hated military establishment for the past many years, them ruling over Pakistan, but it was Zia, the worst martial law administrator ever in Pakistan's history. It was Zia who forgave all the Baloch insurgents cases during his reign to start afresh. But even then, those Sardars, those terrorists, those rebels decided not to negotiate with the Federation government, not to enter into the national reconciliation. Rather, they took up the arms. So even the worst kind of martial law administrator offered them a chance for peace even during 70s and 80s. But then the situation has always been worse. Those people who've been taking up the arms, we cannot negotiate with them. And I would also want to clarify one thing. I mean, the way it is being portrayed that how Baloch people or the Baloch residents or the Baloch nationals are disenfranchised, their resources are not being used for them. We have to understand that Balochistan has its own legislative assembly. They have their own representatives. They have the control over their own resources. And we also have to understand that Pakistan is a federation. The central government has the control over across the provinces. Each province has its own legal binding, and they control and they rule over their own provinces according to the representation that is given to the legislative assemblies. So the notion that somehow Baloch people are disenfranchised, there is discrimination against them. This is a fact that there has been a history of not mainstreaming Baloch people. They have been neglected, but in the recent past, there have been billions and billions of rupees worth of packages for the development, for the upliftment. And I must also mention here that a lot of Baloch students graduate from universities in Punjab, KPK, Sindh. They have special quotas for them to, if there has been disenfranchisement in the past, the government, the state, the other provinces are trying to make it up for them. But picking up arms against the state in the modern nation states, that cannot be tolerated and that cannot be accepted. I mean, imagine BLS taking hostage 200 people and then wanting to clear up demands with the federation. I mean, that is absolutely unacceptable.
Sure, the state may say it's unacceptable, but like I said, it's been going on for decades together. How is it that the state or the army or the ISI didn't see this coming, and why were they not prepared? If this has been brewing for decades together, there has to be a better strategy that after all these decades, the army, the ISI has put in place.
Also, I think, if I may add one point, here.
Yes, Veena Sikri, go ahead.
There is a lot of talk about this legislative assembly of Balochistan and so on, but we do know what the federal structure of Pakistan really means. It's the army control. I mean, the civilian authorities, we know, whether it is, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Balochistan or Sindh or any other village, we know that they really feel they have no power at all. It's the army which controls the entire situation. I mean, it's the, this is a state with an army. It's an army which has a state. It's not a state with an army. So that is why legislative powers are very weak. And that is why all these
And that's something Baloch activists have been raising on global platforms all these years as well. It's not just about picking up arms. But Faraz Saeed, the question that I asked you.
I mean, we've had Baloch leaders like Maharang Baloch who have marched on to capital, Maharang are type of the people, Baloch leaders who have emerged lately. Their voices are being heard. Their voices are echo in the power chambers. Of course, it is the decades and decades of disenfranchisement which has happened. But in the past 20 to 30 years, there has been a change. There has been an evolution. There has been kind of development that they wanted. But if you enter into a terror organization, if you want to rebel against the state, the infrastructure of the state, then there has to be consequences. You cannot get away without any consequences along with taking up the arms against the state. That is like the principle over here. I mean, there are disenfranchisement. Do you think if there is a rising unemployment in US or Canada, they'll pick up the arms against the state? That is not going to be the scene here. Only because it is happening in Balochistan and some of the rebels are taking up the arms against the state.
Sure, but they've taken up arms. But they've taken up arms, like I said, for decades. Why is it that we saw a situation like this? Why did the Pakistani army or the ISI did not see this coming?
I mean, imagine despite the fact that Pakistan army has the capacity to bomb those terrorists out, but because they hide behind the civilians, they hide behind the innocent civilians. So Pakistan army cannot go into the civilian area to to carry out those operations. So they have to tread very carefully, which is why these insurgents have been there. They have been blossoming over there because again they hide behind the shield of civilians. And we cannot kill our civilians. We have to ensure that there is safety for our civilians, which is what is happening in today in Bolan. Pakistan army has the capacity to bomb the shit out of those terrorists who are holding the civilians hostage. However, because those 200 civilians are Pakistanis, it is their duty to protect each and every soul which is being held by those hostages. Pakistani army cannot bomb the entire area.
Sure.
I mean, it is easy to cast a bomb.
But it's been over 24 hours. Maybe there was a way out. Veena Sikri, is that argument something that you buy, or do you think this is just a manifestation of the failure of the army and the administration, successive governments in Pakistan as well?
No, absolutely. I spoke about the very weak federal. There's a lot of, you can say a lot on paper about the so-called federal structure in Pakistan. But why is it that in all the states of this components of this federal structure, there are rebellions? Whether it is Sindh, whether it is Balochistan, whether it is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we've seen so much rebellion. So there must be something. They're rebelling against the army control of the state. They're rebelling against it because the people feel they don't have an expression of their own rights and duties, and they want to participate in the development. development. So there is no answer for that from what your panelist has said. That why is it that the concern persists? Why is it they're not getting jobs? Why is it that there's so much poverty in Balochistan? And why is it that that China has come in as a third country and Pakistan is willing to have special divisions of the army to protect the Chinese, but not to talk to the Balochis and bring them on board?
So to say the very least, it does leave the Pakistani government, the army, the administration in an embarrassing position given the scale of this particular attack that has happened. But Bahal Baloch, I want to give you last 30 seconds before I wrap this up. जब ये 48 hours का time frame खत्म हो जाएगा कल, उसके बाद आगे क्या? If the administration does not agree to the demands that the Baloch Liberation Army is making, हम क्या expect कर रहे हैं? क्या होगा?
एक्सपेक्ट यही कर रहे हैं कि वो मार दिए जाएंगे, और जैसे कि उन्होंने एक फार्मूला तय किया है अपना कि हम इनको अदालत में, अपने बलोच कौमी अदालत में पेश करके उन पे केसेस चलाएंगे, उनको एग्जीक्यूट करते जाएंगे। फिर ये एक तेज तरीन इनका लाजिम है, फौजी एहलकार है, उनको सबको मालूम है आप कहाँ पर डिप्लॉय हुए हैं। मैं बलोचिस्तान की फिलहाल जगह पर ऑपरेशंस में हिस्सा लिया है, जी बिल्कुल लिया है। घरों को जलाया है, जी बिल्कुल जलाया है। लोगों को कत्ल किया है, लाशें फेंकी हैं, जी बिल्कुल किया है, एग्जीक्यूट। तो इस तरह इनका फार्मूला चलता है और क्लियर है। जिस तरह दुनिया भर में देखे जाते हैं कि ऑस्ट्रेजेस और जो डील्स होते हैं, यानी कैदियों का तबादला, ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है। बलूचिस्तान में पहली बार नहीं हो रही है, बलूचिस्तान में पहली बार, दुनिया में पहली बार ऐसी डिमांड नहीं है। आलिया दिनों फलस्तीन में हुआ, जो इसराइल के साथ हुआ, उन्होंने भी फौज ऑप्शन वगैरह सब कुछ, अफगानिस्तान में सब कुछ हुआ है। जो उनकी अभी रिजीम चेंज हुई है, जो उनके कैदी थे ग्वांतानामो बे से भी रिहा हो रहे हैं। तो इसमें क्या मसला है? यहाँ तक कि पाकिस्तान में शुमाली वजीरिस्तान में फौजियों की लाशों के बदले कैदी रिहा किए गए हैं। तो बलूचिस्तान के वक्त क्यों इस तरह की कि हम बम्बारमेंट करके सिविलियंस है या कि फौजी है, आप बम्बारमेंट करके उनको कैसे रिहा कर सकते हैं?
So at the time it seems like it's a my way or highway sort of a situation as far as both sides of the fence are concerned. Where does that leave this crisis and those 100 odd people that are still in captivity of the Liberation Army? And if this fire spreads or continues, what more will it engulf? That's something that India needs to be wary of as well, given that it is happening right in our neighborhood. But unfortunately I have to leave it there. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak. It is time for a quick break, but on the other side, we'll get to the big debate that's brewing up here back home in Karnataka. The Congress government is facing flack over its guarantee committee. We'll tell you why and what the latest flashpoint is.
Ukraine on Tuesday agreed to accept a U.S. proposal for an immediate 30-day ceasefire in the conflict with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the agreement after more than 8 hours of talks between Ukrainian and U.S. officials in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation.
Rubio said he would now take the offer to Moscow.
And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court.
The development comes after a stunning Oval Office shouting match between the presidents of the two countries.
You're gambling with World War III.
The rift had immediate repercussions for Ukraine. President Donald Trump canceled military support and ended crucial intelligence sharing. But as part of accepting the proposed ceasefire, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said Washington will resume sharing aid and intelligence with Kyiv.
And that's effective immediately.
Outside the White House, Trump said there would be a U.S. meeting with Russia to discuss the ceasefire plan soon.
Hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
Later, Russia's foreign ministry said it didn't rule out contacts with U.S. representatives over the next several days, according to state news agency RIA. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was in Saudi Arabia but did not participate in the talks, said the ceasefire was a positive proposal.
Вважаємо це позитивним.
He also said the two countries would work to finalize a minerals agreement.
І дійсно там прописано, що Україна готова прийняти у разі, якщо Росія буде згодна на це, зробити як перший крок перемир'я на 30 днів для того, щоб почати дійсно готувати якийсь вже більш важливий документ, готувати перемовини. Американські партнери будуть вже говорити з російською стороною про те, що ось, будь ласка, є можливість для того, щоб рухатися вперед, якщо дійсно Росія готова до цього, а це буде очевидно. І сьогодні, після цієї зустрічі, 100% сьогодні ключ, як навіть написано у спільній заяві, ключ сьогодні саме у російської сторони. Так, ця угода, вона буде підписана. Ви знаєте, що вона є рамочною. Після цього команди почнуть вже працювати над більш детальним документом. Сьогодні в цій заяві ми просто підтвердили наміри двох сторін, двох президентів, для того, щоб це дійсно сталося. Ми дуже цінуємо лідерство президента Трампа. Ми вважаємо, що Сполучені Штати саме та країна, яка може сьогодні зробити все для того, щоб цей справедливий мир настав. Вони мають ці важелі.
І сьогодні в розмові була пропозиція саме американської сторони зробити перший крок одразу далі. І на 30 днів спробувати встановити повне припинення вогню. Не тільки щодо ракет, дронів і бомб, не тільки у Чорному морі, а також по всій лінії фронту. Україна сприймає цю пропозицію. Ми вважаємо це позитивним. Ми готові зробити такий крок. Американська сторона розуміє наші аргументи, сприймає наші пропозиції. І я хочу подякувати президенту Трампу за конструктивність розмови наших команд.
But very importantly, and I said it, Ukraine, ceasefire. Ukraine, ceasefire. Just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 2,000-3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports, and they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities. And we want to get that war over with. So I think it's a very big, I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you for staying with us. The Karnataka Assembly witnessed pandemonium today as opposition parties cornered the Siddaramaiah government for using taxpayers' money to pay salaries of Congress workers heading the Guarantee Committee to oversee the rollout of these guarantees. Remember, this was a promise that was made before the Congress party came into power in the state of Karnataka. The Congress, on the other hand, has tried to justify. They say it's just procedure and that it's a much needed step to ensure better implementation and delivery, something that they seem to be lagging behind on. Is this really a matter of concern, or is this just being blown out of proportion like the Congress says? To answer that, let's break down what these guarantees actually do cost us. The dispute centers on committees set up at state, district and taluk levels to implement these 5 guarantee schemes, for which, remember, over 50,000 crores have been earmarked in the 25-26 budget. Providing details on the remuneration, the salaries that are paid to these committee members, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar said that district-level committee presidents receive about 40,000 rupees per month. Vice presidents get about 10,000 and every single member gets 1,100 rupees per meeting. There are at least 2 meetings that are held monthly. Taluk-level committee presidents are paid about 25,000 monthly, while members receive 1,000 rupees per meeting. The district-level committees have 21 members each, while taluk-level bodies consist of 11 members. So you can imagine how much money is being paid to all of them, or has been paid at least for the last 1 year since the implementation of this panel. What's interesting is that this panel is not of any independent members who are trying to look at how this delivery can happen. It is Congress workers. It is office bearers of the Congress party who the Congress has come out and said that this is a reward for having worked to ensure the party's win. Now, there are several questions that are coming up as far as the morality or the legality of this goes. But speaking of numbers, can Karnataka even afford this kind of expense? There is a financial crisis that looms, is what many experts say. The subsequent hikes in prices of daily necessities like even milk isn't hidden from anyone. Debt servicing cost of the state stands at about 66,000 crore rupees. Just in interest payment, the state has to pay about 39,245 crore rupees. The total debt is believed to be close to 6 lakh crore rupees. The outstanding debt to GDP ratio of the state is about 24%. It is in one of the higher brackets. Karnataka is seen as one of the top 5 states as far as higher side debt to GDP ratio is concerned. The state's outstanding liabilities have grown by about 109% over the last 3 years. So A, of course, like I said, the question of legality, whether rewarding your own party members but the state having to pay for it, whether that is the correct decision. Also, where is this money coming from and what is this money being taken away from to give as part of salaries to this committee? And in the end, is it just the voter and the people of Karnataka and their troubles that seem to be the only guarantee under the Congress? That's the question we ask on Plain Speak.
This one land grant committee and other committees. For that also sitting fees was given. For many committees, sitting fees have been given to the members. Likewise only, but it is probably in a bigger way. It is questionable, but let us see.
This is the taxpayers amount. Poor people given the tax to the government, but they are transferring the Congress party workers.
कोऑपरेटिव मिनिस्टर बोलता है हमको किसानों को बांटने के लिए पैसा नहीं है, कांग्रेस पार्टी कार्यकर्ताओं को बांटने के लिए पैसा है क्या? इसके लिए सरकार है क्या? बांटना है तो कांग्रेस पार्टी को पैसा बांटना.
We are spending 60,000 crore rupees to directly help people in distress through the Congress guarantees so that we revive the economy.
Let's open this up. Narendra Rangappa, spokesperson of Karnataka BJP, is with us. Spokesperson of the Congress in Karnataka, Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, is with us as well. Bhavya, let me begin by asking you. This panel that was formed about a year ago has several members, all of whose salaries are paid by the state government, correct?
Yes.
Why is the taxpayer paying for salaries of a panel that ensures implementation of a promise a single party made, that the Congress did?
Before elections, everybody presents their manifesto within which our guarantees were also our promises, right?
Sure.
Every party, after it comes to after it forms the government, if it becomes a ruling party, if it wins and forms the government, it is a duty of the government to implement its policies. So after it is implemented as a Congress, it doesn't remain as a Congress party promise. It is a Karnataka government promise. And it is a Karnataka government's policy that is being implemented. Here, the BJP MLAs have always opposed it. Even before the elections, they were opposing guarantees. Even today, they are opposing guarantees. They do not want the guarantees to be implemented smoothly. It is the duty of the ruling government to make sure, after spending 60,000 crores on a welfare scheme, which actually touches the poorest of the poor of our state, it is our duty to make sure it is implemented at the grassroots level. Therefore, an implementation committee was a must. Now, when it comes to their question about why are Congress people appointed, you tell me, when a government policy is, or any other government positions for that matter, whether it is Congress government or BJP government, don't you think they only appoint those who have worked and have the same ideology in those positions? Whether it is Women Commission or any commission, any chairperson, or slum board, or even central government, it has so many commissions. Do they appoint Congress workers there, or those who align with their ideology?
But you could have appointed independent. You could have appointed independent members to this particular board if that was the only case. Because the justification that came to the fore is that Congress workers need to be rewarded for the work that they've done. Why should they be rewarded from what the taxpayer is giving to the exchequer?
So, Pooja, here I'm explaining it
Bhavya,
very
this is
clearly.
Poonam here, but
this
go
is
ahead.
a Poonam. Sorry about that. Poonam, I am telling you very clearly, this is a government policy, and the implementation of which is also supposed to be overseen by the government. And any party which comes to power, they make sure it is their people who are in position of power to make sure that the ideology matches and it reaches the grassroots level. I'll tell you what, this is a very simple thing. They're just blowing it out of proportion because they don't have any issue to speak about in the assembly. They could have spoken about our budget instead. But our budget is so, it's a historic budget. 16th time our chief minister is presenting. They couldn't find anything wrong with it. So
Narendra Rangappa, you couldn't find any flaws, which is why you've decided to make mountain of a molehill. That's the allegation the Congress makes.
See, let me clarify one thing very clearly. BJP is not opposed to the guarantee scheme, but we are concerned about its distribution and its fallacities in the distribution system. We are here to safeguard the taxpayers' money. We don't allow the government to take the people of Karnataka for a ride. So that is one part. The second thing what I would like to say is this is a classical case of misplaced priority and misuse of taxpayers' money. At the same time, abuse of power by the Congress government. They have mocked democracy many a time and yet again this time because they are trying to unilaterally impose this burden on the people of Karnataka in difficult times. Because we are approaching summer very fast and the farmers are staring at a drought-like situation and this government has no money for any developmental activities, implementation and rehabilitation of these farmers who have been affected by this drought. So, the government already has a loan burden of 7,65 crores, as you already said, and the monthly installment for loan is 39,200 crores already. So where are they going to mobilize the funds from? Because you are going to burden the exchequer by around 80 crores annually. And why do you need an implementation committee when you are able to transfer a DBT to the person, whoever it has to reach? What is the social welfare department doing there? Are they not distributing the money? What is the PDS system doing? Are they not distributing the money? What is the BESCOMs doing? Are they not distributing the schemes? So moreover that, despite presence of all these officials, and what you are trying to do is undermine the MLA. What you are doing, you are appointing a non-MLA to the post and some Congress workers to the post, and you're creating a clash there in the system. So what this does is effectively, it again fails the implementation of the guarantee. So the Congress party has yet and again have proven that they are undemocratic. Then they are imposing autocratic policies on the people of
and speaking of the
Karnataka.
cost in itself, like I've detailed out, Bhavya, as far as the debt is concerned of the state, it is rising. The welfare schemes that are being implemented, the guarantees that were promised, their payout is also delayed, several of them, something that the government departments have highlighted, ministers in the government have highlighted. At such a time, is this expenditure really needed? Leave alone all the other things it can be used for. And there are several of them, including civic issues in the state of Karnataka. But for a minute, let's leave those aside.
Actually, as soon as BJP spokesperson spoke about misplaced priority, the very term reminded me of something. I think I should quote that example of perfect example of misplaced priority here. Do you remember this program of Narendra Modi, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao? 80% of that funds went to their media campaign, just to put Narendra Modi's photo on the media campaigns with a slogan, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Now that is misplaced priority. Here, the same BJP MLAs who are protesting there, they protested against our guarantees as well. How can we be sure that the beneficiaries from their constituency are being, are getting their benefits that they deserve from these guarantees?
But there are already departments.
Explain why you want the
Bhavya, there are already these departments under whom these allotments are being made, right? So why is there a separate? So why is there a separate implementation panel?
Poonam, our country, this is the first of a kind 5 very important welfare schemes that has been implemented.
But there are several other Congress states like Himachal and Telangana who also have made similar promises. They don't seem to have such a panel.
If they do not want it, we want it. Karnataka is a 7 crore population.
Why do you want it?
State. Because we want to make sure it is implemented and every person who deserves,
not to the people of Karnataka.
every deserving beneficiary gets their share.
You are bothered about the party workers who have been working for you.
Sir,
you have neglected the people of Karnataka, and now you are trying to escape from giving false excuses.
Sir, to make sure that every deserving beneficiary receives.
Then do you mean to say,
what they
madam, do you mean to say that you have been not giving the proper schemes to
because this is the first of its kind, and this
you
is
are not
very
given the schemes properly in this previous 1 year then?
We as a state have created history, and we want to set an example by being the successful state as well.
Guarantee schemes.
The whole, every party from all the states are copying our model. We want to make sure even the implementation side, not just in announcing guarantees, but even at the implementation side, we are a model. Karnataka model. We want to make sure, because we want to set an example, we want to make sure our guarantees are successful. You copied our guarantees, don't deny that fact.
But Bhavya, are they successful? But Bhavya, are they successful? Okay, let's take your argument. Okay, Mr. Rangapal, just a second, I'll come to you. Mr. Rangapal, I'll come to you, just a second. But Bhavya Narasimha-Murthy, let me...
As soon as you fail, 1 second, as soon as you fail in Delhi and everywhere else that you have come to power announcing guarantee similar schemes, as soon as you fail in implementation, you will even copy our own scheme of implementation.
But Bhavya, as far as success of guarantees in Karnataka or any other Congress rule state is concerned, that's not guaranteed either. Like I said, delayed payouts of these guarantees in Karnataka, in states like Himachal, in states like Telangana, all ruled by the Congress party, is a reality. It's something that's been highlighted from within the party as well. A government report just recently spoke about how there is a gap between the allocation and the release of at least about 61% of all of these guarantees.
So Poonam,
so where is the success?
One very simple example, okay? You know all these old age pension schemes, widow pension schemes, all of this I know in my constituency, when I go talk to the people, they tell me even to register online, the middlemen there, the cyber, people who set up these cyber centers, who apply their application. If they're getting 1,000 rupees, 300 rupees had to be paid to them. We want to cut down that by making sure people on ground are there and it is clean, and what the people deserve, it goes to them completely. They charge them in cash, although it goes to their account, only to register. This is what was happening. We wanted to make sure that doesn't happen. There is a reason why we created this implementation committee at the state, district and taluk level.
So this is just in the interest of transparency, Narendra Rangappa, says the Congress party. And it's just been a year. We'll see how this goes.
2 years almost, but today they are taking up this
Madam,
issue.
let me
Go ahead, Mr.
here.
Rangappa.
See, this same government has 90 people who are appointed as political appointees with huge pay scales. They can appoint 14 servants. They are given a car, they are given fuel, and they are given very high salaries. These are 90 people who are in the state level cabinet rank committees. Then again, now you are going to every district. Please listen, ma'am. Please listen. You can counter me later.
But Mr. Rangappa,
now we are going to every district, every taluka,
that's the wrong information.
and spending crores of rupees.
But Mr. Rangappa, even if it was true, the Congress of course is contesting it, but even if it was true, is it legally wrong? And if it is, why hasn't the BJP gone to court over it?
Madam, there is a question of morality here, not legality. What is the morality? Because you don't have funds to fill potholes, you don't have money to pay salaries to the poor government employees, you don't have money to do any developmental activities, you are not launched any new developmental project. So what is happening? Where is the money? You are giving all the money to your rich MLAs and rich party workers.
And Bhavya, that is a pertinent question. Where is the money? Revenue streams are stagnating. That's something that even your recent budget has shown. Your liabilities have increased by over close to 2% from 2022 to 2023 when you came to power to now.
Poonam ji,
so if you want to debate...
Let me, one second.
Mr. Rangappa, just a second.
Mr. Siddaramaiah has created a record. He has created a record, as my friend said, by borrowing 1,16,000 crores, which is the highest in the history of
And borrowings have increased. This is a fact, Bhavya. So where is the money? Is there money for this?
Are we debating about the budget or are we debating about guarantees?
It is a part of the budget.
Guarantee comes from the budget.
One second.
Guarantee comes from the budget.
Just a second, please. Mr. Rangappa, just a second. Let her finish.
I want to respond. You said 90 people have been. You said 90 people have been given cabinet rank, which is totally wrong.
Sure.
Because there's only one person at the state level who has a cabinet rank. There are 4 minister of state level who have been given in charge of the regions. Otherwise, the district level or the taluk level have not been given any ranking of cabinet. That would be a completely wrong statement to make on a national television. It's just one person who has got cabinet ranking.
I challenge you, madam.
Sure. But Bhavya, the question was simple. Whether it's one appointee, whether it's 10 appointees, whether it's 15, the point of this panel and the money that's being spent on this panel at a time when your liabilities as a state are growing, is it really important? Is that allocation to this panel really that necessary? That's something the voter of Karnataka is also asking. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of time. I thank you both for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak. It is a wrap from my side. Anand Narasimhan joins you next.
Ukraine on Tuesday agreed to accept a U.S. proposal for an immediate 30-day ceasefire in the conflict with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the agreement after more than 8 hours of talks between Ukrainian and U.S. officials in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation.
Rubio said he would now take the offer to Moscow.
And we hope that they'll say yes, that they'll say yes to peace. The ball is now in their court.
The development comes after a stunning Oval Office shouting match between the presidents of the two countries.
You're gambling with World War III.
The rift had immediate repercussions for Ukraine. President Donald Trump canceled military support and ended crucial intelligence sharing. But as part of accepting the proposed ceasefire, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said Washington will resume sharing aid and intelligence with Kyiv.
And that's effective immediately.
Outside the White House, Trump said there would be a U.S. meeting with Russia to discuss the ceasefire plan soon.
Hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
Later, Russia's foreign ministry said it didn't rule out contacts with U.S. representatives over the next several days, according to state news agency RIA. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was in Saudi Arabia but did not participate in the talks, said the ceasefire was a positive proposal.
Вважаємо це позитивним.
He also said the two countries would work to finalize a minerals agreement.
І дійсно там прописано, що Україна готова прийняти у разі, якщо Росія буде згодна на це, зробити як перший крок перемир'я на 30 днів для того, щоб почати дійсно готувати якийсь вже більш важливий документ, готувати перемовини. Американські партнери будуть вже говорити з російською стороною про те, що ось, будь ласка, є можливість для того, щоб рухатися вперед, якщо дійсно Росія готова до цього, а це буде очевидно. І сьогодні, після цієї зустрічі, 100% сьогодні ключ, як навіть написано у спільній заяві, ключ сьогодні саме у російської сторони. Так, ця угода, вона буде підписана. Ви знаєте, що вона є рамочною. Після цього команди почнуть вже працювати над більш детальним документом. Сьогодні в цій заяві ми просто підтвердили наміри двох сторін, двох президентів, для того, щоб це дійсно сталося. Ми дуже цінуємо лідерство президента Трампа. Ми вважаємо, що Сполучені Штати саме та країна, яка може сьогодні зробити все для того, щоб цей справедливий мир настав. Вони мають ці важелі.
І сьогодні в розмові була пропозиція саме американської сторони зробити перший крок одразу далі. І на 30 днів спробувати встановити повне припинення вогню. Не тільки щодо ракет, дронів і бомб, не тільки у Чорному морі, а також по всій лінії фронту. Україна сприймає цю пропозицію. Ми вважаємо це позитивним. Ми готові зробити такий крок. Американська сторона розуміє наші аргументи, сприймає наші пропозиції. І я хочу подякувати президенту Трампу за конструктивність розмови наших команд.
But very importantly, and I said it, Ukraine, ceasefire, Ukraine, ceasefire, just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 2,000-3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports. And they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities. and we want to get that war over with. So I
Will
think
you
it's a very big.
Will you talk to
I think it's a
President
big
Putin
difference
about that?
between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. First up, a major escalation of conflict in Pakistan by the Balochis, who have believed that Balochistan is an independent region which was forcibly occupied in October 1947 by Pakistan, and there's been a struggle to free Balochistan since then. Now, a group of Baloch rebels attacked Peshawar-bound train on Tuesday, taking nearly 450 passengers hostage, including women and children. And we got multiple inputs coming through on the current situation right now. Our group editor, Investigation and Security Affairs, Network 18, Manoj Kumar Gupta, getting us these details that an embarrassed Pak intelligence source has revealed to us that the BLA, or the Baloch Liberation Army's coordinated work within their own divisions is yet to be decoded by the Pak intelligence. A big embarrassment for the Pak military establishment and the ISI. BLA's operating style, they believe, is a mix of military tactics and also political strategies. These attacks are aimed at weakening Pakistan control and escalate their own liberation struggle. The Balochistan Liberation Army executed the Jaffar Express hijack cleverly by choosing a tunnel for strategic advantage. They attacked in the mountainous regions of Balochistan in the Mushkaf region of the Bolan district. This region has a challenging terrain with about 17 tunnels. They started the attacks by detonating explosives at tunnel number 8 that caused the train to derail and then become trapped inside the tunnel. Their success involved a precise timing, local knowledge and understanding of similar attacks. The biggest advantage is that they mentally are very, very strong and have the ability to negotiate from a position of strength. So to break them or to try and make headway into negotiations and get on top of the negotiation conversation, not so easy. The Baloch very, very determined there. There's more to the story. The Baloch liberation struggle has completely exposed Pakistan's intelligence mechanism and perhaps the chinks in their entire internal security mainframe. Pak intelligence sources further telling CNN News 18 that the Baloch well-knit intelligence system strategized the hijack. They mirrored